In the brutal calculus of World War II, the clash of steel titans dominated the battlefield. But what happens when the foot soldier, the grunt in the mud, is given the power to fight back, to become a giant killer? This is the story of two revolutionary weapons that put the power to destroy a tank into the hands of a single soldier. On one side, the American original, the weapon that started it all, the M1 bazooka, and on the other, its bigger, more brutal German cousin, the Raketen Panzerbuchse 54, better known as the Panzerschreck, the tank terror. One was a game-changing invention, the other a terrifyingly powerful evolution. But which weapon was truly superior? The answer isn't as simple as you might think. We'll analyze their origins, firepower, handling, and their impact on the very tactics of the war. Before 1942, the infantryman's options against a tank were grim. Anti-tank rifles were becoming obsolete, and sticky bombs or grenades required suicidal courage. The U.S. Army needed a solution, and it came from combining two emerging technologies, rocketry and the shape-charge warhead. The result, officially the Launcher Rocket 2.36-inch M1, was a marvel of simplicity, a hollow tube that could launch a rocket-propelled grenade. Its nickname, Bazooka, came from its resemblance to a novelty musical instrument, but its effect on the battlefield was no joke. It was the world's first shoulder-fired, recoilless anti-tank weapon. The Germans, however, were quick studies. During the fighting in North Africa and on the Eastern Front, they captured several M1 bazookas. Recognizing a brilliant concept hampered by a somewhat underpowered warhead, German engineers did what they did best. They reverse-engineered and upscaled it. They enlarged the caliber from 60 millimeters to a formidable 88 millimeters, the same caliber as their feared anti-tank and anti-aircraft guns. The result was the Panzerschreck. It wasn't an original idea, but it was a brutally effective one. In the realm of pure innovation, the bazooka is the clear winner. It was a revolutionary leap that created an entirely new class of infantry weapon. The Panzerschreck, for all its power, was a direct derivative. This is where the German love for overwhelming power becomes clear. The original SA-1 bazooka's M6 rocket could, according to U.S. Army specifications, penetrate up to 3 inches or about 76 millimeters of armor. This was sufficient to deal with the lighter German tanks of the early war. However, as the war progressed and heavier German armor, like the Panther and Tiger tanks appeared, the 60-millimeter rocket struggled, especially against their thick frontal armor. Later M6A3 rockets for the improved M9 bazooka increased penetration to around 4 inches, or 102 millimeters, but it was often not enough. The Panzerschreck, with its massive 88-millimeter rocket, was in a different league entirely. Post-war analysis and contemporary reports show the Panzerschreck could punch through over 200 millimeters of armor in some cases. This was enough to defeat the armor of any Allied tank it faced, often from any angle. In a straight-up contest of armor-killing power, there is no debate. The Panzerschreck was vastly superior, earning its tank terror moniker. American soldiers who had the chance to fire both weapons often noted the German weapon's superior punch. Power, however, comes at a cost. The M9 bazooka, designed to be broken down into 2 parts, weighed around 15 pounds. This made it relatively easy for a 2-man team to carry and maneuver on the battlefield. The Panzerschreck was a beast. At over 24 pounds, it was significantly heavier and more cumbersome. But the biggest difference was the backblast. The bazooka's rocket propellant burned out before leaving the tube. The Panzerschreck's rocket continued to burn for several feet after launch, creating a massive plume of smoke and a dangerous jet of hot gas. This forced the Germans to add a heavy blast shield to protect the operator, adding even more weight and making the weapon more awkward to handle. The immense smoke signature also instantly gave away the firing position, a death sentence if not immediately relocated. For portability, ease of use, and concealability, the American Bazooka takes the advantage. It was a weapon that could keep up with the fast-paced, fluid combat that defined much of the fighting in Western Europe. This is where the story gets nuanced. A weapon is only as good as the strategy behind it. The German army, facing overwhelming numbers of Allied tanks, used the Panzerschreck as a specialized tank killer. Late-war German doctrine called for dedicated Panzerjäger or tank hunter teams to set up ambushes in staggered trenches, creating deadly overlapping fields of fire. The Americans took a different approach. The bazooka wasn't just an anti-tank weapon, it was a versatile infantry support tool. According to the 1944 Table of Organization and Equipment, a U.S. Army rifle company had a pool of 5 bazookas to be issued at the commander's discretion. While it was used for last resort defense against tanks, the majority of the nearly 1.3 million bazooka rockets fired in Europe were used against other targets: machine gun nests, fortified bunkers, and buildings. It gave the infantry squad its own portable artillery. And this is the bazooka's hidden genius. While the Panzerschreck was a single-purpose sledgehammer, the bazooka was a multi-tool. The U.S. produced over 470,000 bazookas during the war, compared to about 314,000 Panzerschrecks. The American weapon was everywhere, giving countless infantry squads the power to solve a wide range of problems on the battlefield. So, which was better? If your only goal was to destroy a tank from the front, the Panzerschreck was the undisputed king. Its 88mm warhead was a devastatingly effective tool for dedicated tank hunting teams. But war is more than a series of one-on-one duels. The American bazooka, despite its flaws and less impressive raw power, was a strategically superior weapon. It was an original, game-changing innovation that was lighter, more portable, and far more versatile. It armed hundreds of thousands of soldiers with not just an anti-tank weapon, but a bunker buster and a support tool, fundamentally increasing the combat effectiveness of the individual infantryman. General Dwight D. Eisenhower himself named the bazooka as one of the 4 tools of victory that won the war for the Allies. The Panzerschreck was a terrifying weapon, but the bazooka was a revolutionary idea. It was a game changer that provided the ruggedness and multi-role capability that defined the victorious American way of war. It didn't just counter the tank, it empowered the soldier. What do you think? Was the raw power of the Panzerschreck more important, or did the bazooka's versatility win the day? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the machines and weapons that shaped history.